Many owners believe that the more meat they offer in the BARF diet, the healthier the pet will be. But the truth is that too much protein can bring serious and silent risks to dogs and cats. In this video, you will understand how excess protein can overload the kidneys and liver, what signs the animal's body shows when it is out of balance, and how to calculate the ideal proportions for a safe BARF diet. Learn the difference between nourishing and supercharging, discover the importance of bones, guts, vegetables, and good fats, and see how to put together balanced meals that truly boost your best friend's health, vitality, and longevity. What you serve today can determine how many years of healthy life your pet will have by your side. Your dog or cat deserves the best, and you can offer it. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to learn more about the BARF diet and other natural animal nutrition strategies. Leave your like to support the content and share this video with other tutors who want the best for their pets. When we talk about natural food for dogs and cats, one of the first points that comes up is protein. Many tutors, when starting the BARF diet, believe that the more meat they put on the animal's plate, the better the result will be. After all, meat is a symbol of strength, energy, and vitality. But does it really work like that? Can too much protein be harmful? To answer this question, we need to understand not only the role of protein in the body, but also how excess affects the metabolism of companion animals. Protein is the main building block of muscles, tissues, enzymes, and hormones. Without it, there would be no growth, tissue repair, or proper health maintenance. This is why dogs and cats, being carnivores by nature, need quality protein in their diet. But the detail that often goes unnoticed is that these nutrients must be in balance with other elements, such as fats, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. An unbalanced plate can turn the intention to offer health into a silent risk. In the body of a dog or cat, when protein enters in excess, the body needs to work twice as hard to metabolize the waste generated. A clear example is the kidneys, responsible for filtering the byproducts of protein metabolism, such as urea and creatinine. When the amount ingested exceeds the animal's actual need, these organs are overloaded. It's like putting a small filter on to deal with a constant flood. It may work for a while, but sooner or later it will fail. It is important to remember that the body does not store protein as it does fats or carbohydrates. What is not immediately used for construction and repair ends up being converted into energy or eliminated. This process, however, generates waste that, in large volume, can intoxicate or compromise vital organs. That is why offering only lean meats in excess without considering the rest of the diet can have serious consequences. Another point that is little talked about is that excess protein, in certain breeds or health conditions, can accelerate existing problems. Animals with a predisposition to kidney or liver disease can see their condition worsen quickly if the diet is not balanced. In elderly dogs, for example, which already have naturally reduced kidney function, exaggerating the protein can trigger silent conditions that will only be noticed when they are already advanced. This does not mean that protein is the enemy. On the contrary, it is vital. But the secret is in balance. The body needs an exact amount to function at its best, and this amount varies according to factors such as age, weight, level of physical activity, health status, and even the genetics of the animal. A growing puppy has very different requirements than a senior dog. An active cat, which spends part of its time outdoors, does not have the same needs as a neutered, sedentary apartment cat. The big trap is to believe in ready-made formulas or copy diets from the internet without guidance. What works for one may be dangerous for another. The BARF diet, when well structured, seeks precisely to reproduce the natural and balanced diet that these animals would have in nature, but in a controlled way. This means that it is not enough to put raw meat on the plate and believe that it is solved. It is necessary to plan correct proportions between meat, bones, offal, vegetables, and complements. Each component has a unique function, and when one is in excess, others are missing. Excess protein, in addition to overloading organs, can also cause indirect nutritional disorders. Imagine a tutor who, concerned with strengthening the pet, puts meat in exaggerated quantities and leaves aside fibers and vegetables. The result can be constipation, alteration of the intestinal microbiota, and even a drop in immunity. The animal body is a complex machine, where each part depends on the other. Therefore, the first answer to the initial question is, yes, too much protein can be harmful, but not because it is a bad nutrient, but because nothing, in excess, works well in the body. Balance is key to turning the BARF diet into a health and longevity tool rather than a risk. The next step is to understand what signals your pet's body can give when it's getting more protein than it needs. Signals that often start out discreet, but reveal that there's something out of place. When a dog or cat's body begins to deal with excess protein, the signs are not always obvious at first. Many owners believe that if the animal is eating well and has energy, everything is fine. But the body speaks in subtle ways, and it is precisely in these details that the alert lies. Observing the small signs is essential to prevent serious complications. One of the first signs can be noticed in the stool. When there is too much protein and too little fiber, bowel movements become drier, harder, and even difficult to eliminate. It is as if the intestine did not have enough material to work on traffic in a healthy way. In addition, excess protein residues can alter the smell of feces and urine, making them stronger and more unpleasant. This intense odor is a direct result of the extra work that kidneys and liver have to do to process the excess. Urine is also an important indicator. When the animal begins to eliminate a lot of nitrogen waste, the urine becomes more concentrated, sometimes in greater quantity, and can irritate the urinary tract. It is at this time that the first risks of stones or crystals appear, especially in cats. Anyone who has had a cat with urinary obstruction knows how dangerous and painful this condition can be, and often nutritional imbalance is one of the invisible triggers. Another point of attention is behavior. The overloaded body reacts in ways that impact the animal's routine. Dogs that were once active may begin to show fatigue more quickly on walks or play. Cats may become more apathetic, preferring to lie down for long periods. In some cases, there are signs of irritability or sudden mood swings, a reflection of a body that is not able to balance its internal functions. The skin and fur also suffer. Many owners believe that excess protein will make the coat more beautiful, but the reality is that when there is no balance with good fats, vitamins, and minerals, the coat can become opaque, rough, and even have localized shedding. The body cannot properly direct nutrients because it is too busy eliminating what is left. The most serious clinical signs appear over time. In veterinary consultations, it is common to notice changes in blood tests, such as elevation of urea and creatinine. These numbers, which seem cold and distant, are actually the first silent cries of overworked organs. A kidney that suffers today may fail tomorrow, and when it does, the treatment is long, costly, and often only palliative. Elderly animals deserve even more attention. A dog or cat that is over 10 years of age carries an organism that is naturally slower to metabolize nutrients. For them, overdoing it on protein can be like carrying a heavy backpack every day until the spine gives way. The process is gradual, but inevitable if there is no intervention. Another risk is the development of indirect nutritional imbalances. When protein dominates the diet, there is little room left for fiber, antioxidants, and essential micronutrients. This opens the door to low immunity, greater propensity to infections, and even difficulty in simple healing. The owner may think he is nourishing well, but he is actually weakening the body from within. That's why daily observation is so important. Changes in stool, pee, breath, fur, mood, and disposition are clues that cannot be ignored. Often the tutor notices, but underestimates. He blames the weather, stress, or even something the pet ate on the street. But, in fact, the problem is in the everyday dish. Therefore, understanding the signs is the second step to protecting your pet's health. The next is to learn how to correctly calculate and balance the amount of protein in the BARF diet, ensuring that the food is truly a source of life and not overload. Balancing protein in the BARF diet does not mean reducing meat to the point of weakening the animal, but rather offering the right amount for the body to function in its best shape. The big key is in the proportion. The BARF diet is built on well-defined pillars: muscle meats, raw fleshy bones, offal, vegetables, fruits, and natural supplements. When these elements are in harmony, the protein fulfills its function without causing overload. In general, animal protein should represent a significant part of the diet, but never the whole. In dogs, the base is usually made up of approximately 70% components of animal origin, including meat, bones, and offal, and the rest is divided between vegetables, fruits, and complements. For cats, which are strict carnivores, the need for protein is greater, but balance remains key. They require specific amino acids, such as taurine, which are only found in meat and offal, but that doesn't mean they can live on raw chicken breast alone, as many believe. The most common mistake of beginner owners is to overdo lean meats and ignore the importance of bones and offal. Bone provides calcium and phosphorus, which balance the relationship with the phosphorus present in meat. Without enough calcium, protein generates an acidic environment in the body, weakening bones and teeth over time. Viscera, on the other hand, are true natural vitamin complexes, bringing nutrients such as vitamin A, iron, and zinc, which support the protein to be used correctly. Another essential point is variation. There is no single source of protein capable of meeting all the body's needs. If the tutor only offers chicken, for example, zinc and iron may be lacking. If you only offer beef, you may lack other amino acids in appropriate proportions. Rotating between different meats, such as chicken, beef, lamb, fish, and even rabbit, is a powerful strategy to balance nutrients and avoid hidden deficiencies. In addition to variety, individual suitability comes into play. A puppy needs more protein proportionally than an elderly dog, because it is growing. An athletic dog, who practices intense activities, has different requirements than a dog that spends a good part of the day resting on the couch. In cats, balance must consider not only age, but also body condition. Obese cats, for example, may have hormonal imbalances that require finer adjustments. That's why every BARF diet should be personalized. Quantities cannot be copied from an internet recipe without evaluation. The guidance of a veterinary nutritionist is the safest way, as he evaluates exams, weight, breed, routine, and health history of the animal before defining the ideal proportions. But even though each case is unique, there are practical signs that help the tutor understand if he is on the right track. The pet that receives balanced protein has firm feces, in reduced quantity and with a less intense odor. The coat remains shiny, soft, and with controlled shedding. Breath is healthy, eyes are bright, and physical disposition is stable. Unlike excess, where dryness, strong odor, and apathy appear, balance brings visible vitality in everyday life. Another important detail is that too much protein does not mean unlimited energy. For the animal to have vitality, it also needs good fats, which are a slow-release source of energy. They are fats that sustain long periods of activity, keep the coat nourished, and offer support for the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, such as A, D, E, and K. Without them, even with a lot of protein, the body is deficient and vulnerable. Balancing, therefore, is not cutting protein, but inserting it into the right set of nutrients. It is to make meat, bones, offal, and vegetables work together, each fulfilling its function. This understanding is what transforms BARF from a risky practice to a powerful tool for health and longevity. Talking about excess protein is not just a technical issue, it is a warning of responsibility. Those who choose the BARF diet for their dog or cat seek to offer something better than industrialized food, but this desire to get it right needs to go hand in hand with the understanding that more does not always mean better. In nutrition, exaggeration can be as dangerous as lack. Protein is essential, but it only fulfills its function when it is accompanied by the other elements that complete the health gear. Alone, it can overload organs, cause imbalances, and even shorten an animal's life. But in harmony with good fats, fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, it becomes fuel for vitality, energy, and longevity. This balance is what ensures strong bones, well-formed muscles, an immune system prepared to resist diseases, and an active mind. It is also what silently prevents kidney, liver, or metabolic diseases from developing over the years. In other words, today's care is tomorrow's shield. It is natural for tutors, when starting the BARF diet, to be afraid of making mistakes. And that is precisely why they should not walk alone. Consulting a veterinary nutritionist, performing periodic exams, and closely monitoring the animal's behavior are not details, but pillars of success. Natural food is not improvisation. It is science applied to your pet's plate. When you understand that balance is the key word, everything changes. The tutor stops just feeding to start really nourishing. The animal not only eats, but blooms. Vitality grows, eyes shine, coat comes to life, energy is stable, and the risk of disease drops dramatically. It is at this point that the BARF diet reveals its true power, not in excesses, but in proportions. Therefore, if you already follow or intend to adopt BARF for your dog or cat, remember, protein is indispensable, but it cannot reign alone. The secret is to put together dishes that respect your pet's unique needs without falling into the temptation of thinking that more meat means more health. Balance not only protects, but prolongs life. In the end, the question, can too much protein be bad, answers itself. Yes, when there is no balance. But when managed right, protein is the foundation of longevity, vitality, and a full life with the ones you love. The choice is in your hands, and every meal is an opportunity to build years of healthy happiness for your best friend.